Hi there, my name's Alex, and I work for Ontario Soil and Crop. And this video is meant to show you how to complete your ASEEI Energy Efficiency Worksheet for your Energy Efficiency Improvements application under the Agricultural Stewardship Initiative. So before we start, it's important to note that as there are two different energy efficiency improvements categories, each one of those categories comes with a separate energy efficiency worksheet. They are different. So this video is going to show you how to complete your small scale energy efficiency improvements category sheet. So this is the ASEEI worksheet. So under the energy efficiency improvements category, under the documentation required with the application tab, you will find the ASEEI worksheet. And here it is. It should look like this. And you can download this onto your computer and begin filling it out. So this is what the ASEEI worksheet looks like. The large-scale energy efficiency worksheet will say ASLEE, so ensure that you're filling out the correct form. And the first page of this form is just describing the operation itself where we're going to propose our changes. So this first table here is going to describe the total livestock by type and number. So I'm just going to copy this. Dairy. Etc. Etc. So we'll say we've got 80 total. And then 80 ducks. 80. And then the next table here is describing the acres owned by crop or pasture, the acres owned that are not being used for crop or pasture, so bush or woodlot, the acres rented or leased, and then the acres irrigated. So again, just copying this down. Maybe wheat. Going to give you 220, and then 5 acres bush. And then 5 acres strawberries. 5, 50, and 5. Okay. And we've described our operation. So step 1 is where we're going to determine the total annual baseline energy usage associated with your whole farm operation, where the energy efficiency improvement project is going to be proposed. So this is your entire farm's existing energy usage before you implement your proposed improvement project. So it's recommended that you select 12 consecutive months immediately before your project is implemented to provide an adequate baseline for your energy efficiency use over 12 months. I'm recording this in July, so I'm going to select August of 2024 to July of 2025. Now, if there are extenuating circumstances that are specific to your operation, if something, heaven forbid, should happen or should have happened where a portion of your operation had to shut down for part of the year and you don't feel that the immediate 12 months before the application would serve as an adequate or representative baseline for your energy usage, you have the option to select an alternative older 12-month period here and then provide the reason below. I'm going to hit not applicable in this case because I've selected the most recent 12-month period. And so you'll see in step 1 below here, you'll see several different boxes here, different tables by energy type. There's electricity, there's natural gas, there's propane, diesel, heating oil, and then there are 2 for miscellaneous energy types that we'll cover in a minute. So after I list the provider name here and populate the month column or the year column, and it's a bit counterintuitive because we're starting in August 2024 and going to July 2025. So the table looks a bit funky, but once I've filled out this month column, I'm going to provide from my hydro bills the total energy used for our operation in kilowatt hours. So I'm going to throw a few random numbers in here. You'll need to base this based on off of your hydro bills and your power bills. So please don't just put 100 or 150. These have to be actual measured values. And you'll notice that as I populate this column here, that line A is going to sum all of these values that I type in. So 200, 250, 200, and it's going to continue that all the way down. Oops. 200, 200, 100, 100, 100, 100. And so we've got the total electricity use over the past 12 months in kilowatt hours. We've got 1900. So moving on to natural gas, I'm going to use the same 12-month period. So August of 2024 to July of 2025 in my case. But you'll notice that natural gas is both measured probably on your bills and also on this sheet as meters cubed, as cubic meters of gas, not as kilowatt hours. So I'm going to type in the total cubic meters of gas used, 50, 200, 25. And just as above, this line here is going to add up all of the natural gas used in cubic meters over the past 12 months. And it's going to multiply that by a conversion factor. And that's going to convert the cubic meters, the volume of natural gas used, into kilowatt hours. And it's going to automatically populate that for you. So that will be here. And so that's your line B, your total natural gas usage over the last 12 months in kilowatt hours. It's going to do the same thing with propane. If your operation doesn't use a fuel source, you obviously are not going to have anything to fill out in these boxes. And then each fuel type has its own multiplication conversion factor here. So 7.09 for propane. We go down to diesel, 10.74, and so on and so on. Heating oil. Now, if I use an alternative energy type that isn't listed here, so say wood biomass, let's say I heat my barn with wood biomass from my wood lot in the winter, and I measure that in kilos, I'm going to put that figure down as well. Say 100, 150, 150, 75. And the conversion factor for biomass is something that you would need to consult with OSCIA to get. So feel free to reach out to SCAP at Ontario Soil Crop to get that conversion factor specific to your energy type if you use such an energy type. I'm going to say, for argument's sake, that the multiplication factor, the conversion factor, is 2.5. It's not, but let's just say that it is. And it's going to convert the sum total again, so 475 kilos of wood burned over the last 12 months by our conversion factor, and it's going to give you that kilowatt hour value there. And then there's one more table here that if you have yet another unconventional or uncommon energy type that you use, energy source that you use, you're welcome to put that down here. In fact, please do so. Now you'll notice this final summary table is going to take these values, the 1900, the 13254, the 1187 that we have here from all of these boxes, and it's going to add them together. You see all those values. It's going to add them together for your total energy usage as a baseline in kilowatt hours for your entire farm operation over the past 12 months. Now, please note this value is really important, and there are a few other values like this in this ASEEI form where that response, this value is going to be needed when you're filling out your application questionnaire, specifically question 10. So you're going to refer back to your ASEEI form after you've completed it to inform your application questionnaire. So that's really one of the intentions of this questionnaire, is to make sure that there's kind of a rigorous evidence-based approach to assessing the energy efficiency and the energy usage of your project, of your operation. So now that we've computed our baseline, step 2 is where we're going to estimate the change in annual energy usage associated with implementing your proposed project. And please note that this is project specific in kilowatt hours. So it's only to do with the exact system that we are planning to replace. So under table step 2A, the example here that we're going to follow is we're going to say, for example, we're going to change our energy, our lighting from high pressure sodium lights to LEDs. So the baseline is given as 50 kilowatt hours for our high pressure sodium lights. The estimated new energy usage for our LEDs is estimated at 30 kilowatt hours. And then you'll see if you subtract 30 from 50, you get 20 kilowatt hours, and that's your estimated annual project specific energy savings. So we're going to see more of this. You're going to fill out your version of this table below on the next page. But before we do that, we're going to provide a detailed explanation of our proposed energy efficiency project. So I'm just following this example here. I would like to replace my sodium lights with LEDs. And please provide a bit more detail on that if your project, I'm just using this as an example. And then you're going to refer to that when you're filling out your application questionnaire. Again, question 14 is going to ask you about this. So moving on to table step 2A, the proper table step 2A, we're going to calculate, or pardon me, we're going to populate this cell here under row A of column A with our annual energy usage associated with the project-specific system. So in my case, we'll say that our baseline is 50 kilowatt hours. So I'm just going to follow this example once again, 50 kilowatt hours. And you'll notice if you've got a project where you're expecting, where your system uses more than one electricity type, so building envelope might be one good example where you're using a certain amount of electricity, a certain amount of natural gas. You can fill out these values, and this column on the right is going to keep track of all of your annual energy usage associated with your current system, and it's going to sum them all together as well. So you'll get a total annual energy usage associated with your project specific system for every fuel type. And I know that's a bit of a mouthful, so in most cases your project's not necessarily going to be all that complicated, with the exception perhaps of, say, building envelope and then a few others. For our LEDs, we're just expecting a savings of electricity. We're not expecting to save natural gas. We're not expecting to save propane or diesel or so on and so forth. So I'm just going to plug in 50, and 50 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 is just 50. And the form will automatically calculate that for you. And then in row B, we're going to enter our estimated annual new energy usage after the proposed energy efficiency project is implemented. So from the example above, if our new LEDs are 30 kilowatt hours, we're going to plug that number in here. And you'll see again, 50 minus 30, which the form automatically calculates for you, is 20. And so if we do this again across all these different, just to show you what the form calculates, if we're expecting a savings of 120 or of 375 in natural gas, right? It's going to sum all of these values together. So it's going to sum your baselines all together. It's going to sum your new project energy usages all together. And then finally, it's going to sum all of your estimated project-specific energy savings together. And that's going to give you a total C. So just to get rid of this again, but just so that you've seen how this form works, this is how the form works. So our form's calculated that our total estimated energy efficiency savings for our project-specific system is 20 kilowatt hours, which makes sense because 50 minus 30 is 20. And that value is going to be important for question 11 on your application questionnaire. So the next few boxes here are really important because it basically, these two boxes are to indicate how you got these original numbers. I'm pulling these from an example, but you're obviously not just going to put 50 and 30. If you have energy efficient fans that you want to install, you'll need to have some sort of documentation or something to support why you believe your project, your current system has a baseline usage of 50 kilowatt hours, and that the new system will have an energy usage of 30 kilowatt hours, and so forth. So we're going to explain where that comes from. So I'll say, for example, I had an energy audit in the past, shows 50 kilowatt hours of energy, of electricity, sodium lights, and then if I have a product brochure, or say our an LED supplier indicates LEDs use 30 kilowatt hours. Here's the box to place that information. And then you're going to list any supporting documentation. If you have any supporting documentation to back those figures up, please both indicate them here and then attach them to your application when you submit it. That is very important information for us to have if you have access to it. So we'll say energy audit file. We'll say report, and then LED brochure as an example. These answers are going to be very important for application questionnaire question 15. Okay, so table step 2B is where we're going to estimate our percentage energy savings associated with our proposed energy project. So you'll see these values have already been populated from the total C and the total A in our table step 2A. So we've got these two values already, but we don't have the percentage. That needs to be calculated manually. So I'm going to bring up my calculator, and the way that we calculate percentage is the total C divided by the total E, or divided by the total A times 100. So 20 divided by 50 times 100 is going to give us 40% system project-specific energy savings. So by switching from sodium lights to LEDs, we're going to save 40% of the electricity of the lighting system. That's not, obviously, it's not our entire operations energy savings. That is in step 3. So step 3 is where we estimate the total savings, or the savings in energy usage for our whole farm operation after we implement the proposed project. So if we go to table step 3, if you remember at the end of step 1, you see all these values have already been populated. Do you remember when we filled out all of those boxes way up here? And then we summarized it, or it was automatically summarized by the form in this box here. These values, 1900, 13254, 1180, 750, they're all summarized in this row here of table step 3. So all of step 1 is summarized basically in this row. Likewise, all of table step 2, or step 2, is summarized in the second row here. So there wasn't a whole lot of energy efficiency or energy savings associated with like natural gas or propane. So that wasn't included. Those values are all 0. But that 20 value that we have here from step C in table 2B or 2A, that's all reported here. I'll stop jumping around. So we're on step 3. So these next rows here, step D and step E, are a little bit more nuanced. They're sort of uncommon. So not every project is going to have these, but if there are any additional energy use savings in other areas of the farm operation that weren't reported above, here's the place where you would report that. So for example, if by implementing your energy efficiency project, you now need fewer raw materials for feed or something that maybe doesn't need to be shipped around your farm or moved around your farm, and you have savings in diesel fuel, for example, from that. That would be an example of something that you would report here. So diesel kilowatt hours, you'd report the kilowatt hours of diesel fuel there. And then row E is if you have any additional energy usage in other areas of the farm. For example, if for some reason your new energy efficient lighting or system requires indirect costs of energy to implement, or not to implement, but after it's been implemented, if you somehow needed to ship more raw materials around your farm, that would be the time. Here's the place where you would report those values. So it's a little bit hard to conceptualize that one, but hopefully I've done a good job there. So again, there are no additional energy savings or additional energy uses around the farm in relation to my LED project. So I'm going to leave both of those blank. And now this step, this total calculation here, we have to calculate the total F for each column, must be done manually. So all this is, it's estimating the new total annual whole farm energy usage after you implement your proposed project. So it's the baseline, which is this row here, minus row C, minus row D, plus row E. So in my case, I get very lucky because there's not a lot here to fill out or to calculate. It's 1900 minus 20 minus 0 plus 0, which is 1880. And that value I'm going to put in here. And everything else, we're just going to fill out as normal. So 13,254 minus 0 plus 0 is 13,254. Over here, same story. Most of these calculations don't even need to be done because on my farm operation, we don't use propane, we don't use diesel, we don't use heating oil. So 1187.5. So once you've done all of those calculations manually, the final column here, the F column, or the F row of the right-hand column is going to sum all of these new total energy usages together, and you get the new total energy use across all different fuel types on your farm. And that happens to be 16,332 kilowatt hours. Now you're going to need that response on application question 15 or 16. Now, any additional energy savings or usages that are not related, in steps D or rows D or row E, you're going to report what they are here. So, for example, decreased fuel costs or transportation. That would go here if that applies to your project. It does not apply to this example. Okay, we're almost done, folks. So step 4 is where we're going to estimate the energy savings for your proposed project for your whole farm operation. So 16,342, line 2 here has already been calculated as your baseline. So that's here. So we need to calculate the total as C plus the total D minus the total E. So our total C, which is 20, minus the total D, or pardon me, plus the total D, which is 0, minus 0 is still 20. So 20 kilowatt hours. And we're going to calculate the percentage in the same way that we did above, where it's line 1 divided by line 2 times 100. So 20 divided by 16,342 times 100. And so I get 0.122% energy efficiency savings for my entire farm operation just by changing those lights up. And that's step 4. Last step, we're almost done. We're going to calculate, pardon me, I've gone too far. We're going to estimate the reduction in fossil fuel energy usage as a result of our proposed project. So if your proposed project is anticipated to reduce the use of energy fuel sources, so natural gas, propane, diesel, or heating oil on your farm, complete the table below. Pardon me. We're only considering the use of fossil fuel sources as reported in step 2A, and we're not including electricity. So you'll see that the electricity cell has been blacked out. And because it's only, in my case, an electricity reduction, there are no fossil fuel savings associated with this project. This step is blank for me. If there are any fossil fuel savings associated with your project, here's the place where you would put that down. And then you'll need that response above the above response for your application form for question 5. All right, that about does it. I hope that this was a tremendously informative resource for you when filling out your ASEEI energy efficiency worksheet. If you have any questions about this process or about the application process for ASI, feel free to contact scap@ontariosoilcrop.org. Thank you so much.